Hi there. Have you ever wondered how real everything happening in Plants vs. Zombies really is? Or if it's even real at all? Why are there zombies, living plants, a time machine, and so on in the PVZ universe? All of that still belongs to the realm of science fiction, and that's usually the easiest explanation. But let's be honest, where's the fun in that? So, let's try to come up with a different explanation. Today, I want to share a theory I find quite fascinating. So don't waste any time, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right in. So, what is my theory? As you may have already guessed from the title, my theory is that everything happening in PVZ is a product of the imagination of one of the main characters. Crazy Dave. Now, what points to this idea? First of all, Crazy Dave knows he's crazy, he calls himself that. In the game, he's portrayed as a mix of genius and madman. He creates living plants that move, fight zombies, and defend the town. He builds a time machine from leftover zombot parts and invents all sorts of other strange devices. At the same time, he's willing to pay $1,000 for an ordinary taco and talks in a made-up language no one else understands. But what if he's not just eccentric, but truly mentally ill, someone who made all of this up in his head and genuinely believes it's real? Dave clearly shows signs of schizophrenia, disorganized speech, erratic behavior, and paranoia, like always wearing a pot on his head to protect his brain from zombies. This could explain the existence of zombies, fantastic inventions, constant violations of physics, biology, and basic logic. Due to his mental state, Dave may have started to believe all of this was really happening. He could be mistaking ordinary people for zombies. That would explain why some zombies are dressed as workers or have tools. He sees people in roles and jobs. But through his distorted view, it would also explain why they all seem to be in the same stage of decay. Dave knows their weaknesses and behaviors too well, which hints that they might just be figments of his imagination. The plants he's grown might have begun to seem alive and protective to him. That's why, in the game, we defend ourselves not with weapons, but with plants. If you think about it, during a zombie apocalypse, using plants as weapons is, at best, bizarre, and at worst, totally ineffective. Yet somehow, it works. Now, let's take PVZ 2. No matter which time period we travel to, we always run into Dr. Zomboss. Even Zomboss himself seems surprised by this. We visit 12 different worlds, and he's in every single one of them. The chances of this happening in real life are astronomically low, if not outright impossible. This again supports the idea that everything is happening inside Dave's mind. Now you might ask, okay, if all of this is just Dave's imagination, how do you explain that there's another character who also sees everything, as the player? The neighbor. That's a fair question, and I have an answer. Dave is said to be our neighbor, right? He gives us plants to help defend our house. But notice, we never see Dave's house. In fact, we never see anyone else's house. It feels like the zombies are only ever attacking us, and they're doing so constantly, from all sides. Day and night, even Zomboss shows up personally. Are our brains really that much of a delicacy? We're just an ordinary person. We didn't create the plants or invent anything that threatens Zomboss's plans. So why such a massive focus on us? Meanwhile, Dave, the one guy who can fight back, gets ignored. He just stands next to his van and sells us random stuff. This leads to my conclusion. We are playing as Dave's second personality. On top of everything else, let's add dissociative identity disorder to his diagnoses. And that could explain a lot. Why zombies want our brain so badly. Why we never see Dave's house. Why Dave appears out of nowhere at the start of some levels, like he's always standing right behind us. And how we understand what he's saying, even though the game says no one can understand his language, except him and his niece. Another strange thing, the player character has no name. We get to make one up at the beginning. That's unusual, most games give the protagonist a name. Maybe that's a clue too. Of course, this is just a theory, one way to interpret the game. It's probably not true, especially if you view the game as a lighthearted cartoon world, which it obviously is. But I still think it's an interesting take, and honestly, I'd love to see the developers explore something like this. It could give the game a deeper layer and appeal to an older audience, not just kids. So, what do you think? Could something like this actually be true in the world of PVZ? And with that, I'll end the video here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out my other videos. Thanks for watching, good luck, and goodbye.